Hello. Welcome to the news. This week, lots of news, more news about airplanes and no scenery. Well, kinda. There's a bit of scenery, but it's mainly airplanes. Check it out. So I am once again joined by your man over there, our fearless co-host, GibboIreland. How are you, Gibbo?
Hey Murph, how you doing? Good to see you.
And
hey,
you?
Murph, did you have something to tell me?
Go on, we'll give it to you. You're brilliant.
Thanks, Murph. I didn't quite hear you though.
You're brilliant.
Okay, that's good. Thanks, Murph. How are you?
7 seconds of fame, that's it. Pin it on a wall and you can worship it. And God, I need to come back and do something with that. Yeah, my sound effects won't play. But anyway, listen, we won't get too sidetracked here as I, try to dig myself out of a hole. There's news, but kind of no huge news in relation to the PMDG 737. Now, we're still dying to get our hands on this. We want to know a release date. We have an idea, on pricing. And I think, Gibbo, you had predicted this is going to be released on the 1st of February. Well, I shall see your 1st of February and raise you the 28th of February. That's what I reckon it's going to be. And, well, whoever is closer to the 1st of February or the 28th of February, the winner shall win a punnet of strawberries. And the other person doesn't. That's only fair by me. But we've had a bit of news from PMDG. What can you tell us?
I didn't say the 1st. I said February, the month. I claimed the whole month. You can't claim the 28th.
I reckon you said the 1st.
Really? We'll play back the video later. So yes, Murph, we've got some news from Randazzo, the PMDG boss, who says that the big issue that they are facing in relation to the development of 737 has been overcome, and that was in working with collaboration with Asobo on that. So it's full steam ahead as far as they're concerned to release. And actually, we have this one image which we're kind of dwelling on a bit here because it's an interesting image. So as a symbol of the testing phase that will now follow for the 737 sim, Randazzo shared this image depicting the 737 with a red cone angling from its vertical stabilizer, which is typically used during testing phases of new aircraft types to measure static pressure. So its presence now here on the 737 for Microsoft Flight Sim symbolizes just that. It's now being tested before the final delivery. So a bit of a stretch, but we'll go with. So yeah, it's getting there, Murph. It's getting there. Weeks out now at this stage.
When I first saw it, I said, that's an interesting kind of a shower. Because it doesn't look like a shower, but it's not a shower. But yeah, look, we need more news. I can't wait to hear more news. Now, look at this thing. This is from a developer who I'm mad about because they've made cracking aircraft so far in Microsoft Flight Sim. And it is that from the developers called Flying Iron Simulations, featuring the F6F Hellcat. Gibbo, what can you tell us about this?
So the Hellcat, first of all, was a dominant carrier fighter in the US Navy towards the end of World War II, where it played a crucial role in defeating the Japanese A6M0, which gave the US air superiority over the Pacific. It was a powerful, well-designed and highly effective machine, which was credited with the destruction of more than 5,000 enemy aircraft. Here, we actually commented on a previous video regarding the Hellcat's predecessor, the F6F Wildcat, which is also coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator. But both aircraft have one thing in common, which is the developers of Got Gravel. Now, Got Gravel are working with Flying Iron here on the development of the Hellcat. Nice. On the systems in particular. So it already sports, as you can see from these screenshots, a detailed model both inside and out, with work underway now to complete the textures and animations. The team are also looking to implement a realistic soundtrack on the Hellcat, and they're resorting to a series of high-quality recordings that they have of a real F6F. So, yeah, they seem to be really keeping their standards up here, and there's no information at the moment yet, Murph, unfortunately, on an estimated release date. But there was one other tidbit here as well that we thought would be worth mentioning as to what came out from Flying Iron this week, which was the German Messerschmitt Bf109. So this is clearly at very early stages of development, but it's already showing a bit of a nice 3D model coming along. So definitely one to watch as well.
100%. And like, Airplane Heaven gave us the F3. Got Friends are going to give us the F4. and Flying Iron are going to be working on the soon, hopefully to be released, F6. But a lot of kind of similarities between those aircraft. This is completely out of left field. I mean, this is fantastic. And it's not an aircraft, I think, that they've developed before. So really looking forward to this. I mean, the Messerschmitt was such a famous airplane, and it saw so much combat. It was remarkable. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. But, you know, if it's at the standard, which it will be, of Flying Iron simulations, it's going to be absolutely incredible. So really exciting news indeed. So moving on, this is odd. Okay, right, well, it's not odd, but it is, right? So there's a load of like different things in a package, and you can buy it as a little package. Gibbo, what is it?
Yeah, this has got a bit of everything. This is called Beautiful World Microsoft Flight Simulator, and it's brought to us by Perfect Flight, who, rather than focusing on a specific region of the world, have a little bit of everything from everywhere across the globe. So yeah, Murph, it's kind of bundled all together as an all-inclusive package, and what they have is 7 new scenery tours across regions such as Italy's Amalfi Coast and the Bahamas and the Rocky Mountains. They have 9 discovery flights in cities like Amsterdam, Venice, Rome, and more. There's landing challenges as well, ranging from your 747s all the way to your little Cessnas in various airstrips around the world. And if that wasn't enough, they've also thrown in some landmark markers as well, POIs essentially, 400 odd of them too, to help you discover some new areas around the world. So yeah, it's a bit of all of everything really. It's $15 and it's available right now via the Aerosoft website. What do you think of this one, Murph? I'm not so sure.
Flightsim.to, and just have a look at some of the routes or you know, bus trips, landing challenges. They're all there. It's interesting that they've marketed this to sell, because okay, discovery flights, sure, they planned a couple of routes. Scenic tours, yeah, they planned a couple of routes. And when it comes to POIs, like when I saw landmarks, I said, oh, did these guys build handcrafted landmarks that we can now visit? No, they're just a little POI that'll tell you what you're flying over. I don't know, I'm not a fan. Straight up off the bat, this is something that I think the community is better at sharing and not having to charge for it. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think in the comments section below? Do let us know. But yeah, I don't know, it's not quite my cup of tea. Do you know? But sure, listen, it is what it is. Moving on. Look at this handsome devil. Anyway, look at the head in that. Why did we use that clip? But anyway, we're looking here at a freeware aeroplane. This is the Vans RV-7 by a developer called deejing, and the entire aircraft, which comes in many different variants, is for free. And GibboIreland was chatting to him only the other day, and he gave you some updates. So Gibbo, what's the story here?
Yeah, Murph, as you said, you covered this on a live stream, and I think you found it epic. We'll hand back to you in a moment to give us your final thoughts on it. But yes, it was released. It's available now on flightsim.to. It's the RV-7 and 7A. 4 different model combinations, which is the tail wheel RV-7, the tricycle gear RV-7A, and then both with the choice between a G1000 glass cockpit and an attractive alternative with classic gauges. So yes, Murph, I was talking to deejing, and we're big fans of his work, and he shared with us a little update that any day now, could it even be today, there is an update coming to it which adds autopilot to the gauges version, which is excellent. And then he also shared with us a bit of an exclusive, which that his next update is on another aircraft, the FK9 Mark IV, which again is another ultra lightweight aircraft that is making the rounds across some YouTube channels on the internet at the moment that some folks may be familiar with. So its first version is already available too on flightsim.to, with many updates to come from deejing, who's hard at work. So it's just worth repeating, these are freeware, so they're available for free, and they're definitely worth a download. What did you think, Murph, when you were taking this out for a spin?
I was so surprised because, you know, when it comes to some of the freeware aircraft, and as good as they are, some of them are fantastic. It doesn't take long to find what their limitations are. Do you know, it could be a texture, it could be the sound, or maybe there's a kind of strangeness with the flight model. With the RV-7, I was blown away by it. I mean, it flies so very, very well. You have so much choice by having your conventional landing gear or a tail dragger, but it also includes the glass or steam gauge cockpits. I was pleasantly surprised. Even the canopy opens and closes. So it's highly, highly polished. And for me, it's better than some of the payware releases we've seen over the last year and a bit. So yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of what deejing is doing. I think he's absolutely awesome. And like, it's for free. Like, you don't get better value than free. So yeah, fantastic news. So moving on. Look at a de Havilland Vampire. Huge fan of these airplanes. Yet again, well, the Irish Air Corps flew them, but they're also used in the UK. Fascinating airplane. If you remember the Microsoft Flight Sim Christmas special featuring CDL, it was all about the Shepherd. And this is the very aircraft in which the Shepherd was based on. The pilot was flying a de Havilland Vampire. Gibbo, what can you tell us about this one?
This is the Vampire DH100, and there's also another one which is the Venom DH112, and it's brought to us by a developer called Swiss Milsim. Swiss Milsim. Yes, it's a mouthful. Yeah, there's a bit of a history here in terms of the connection of these two aircraft, which are British aircraft, with Switzerland as well. Essentially, the Swiss Air Force loved them and took them over, ending up licensing the production of the Vampire across the country with a total of 221 airplanes in service. And they both played an important role for the Swiss Air Force, particularly in the late 1980s. The Venom is the iteration of the Vampire with improved performance figures. It's faster, more nimble, and overall more capable, although it is a little similar in appearance to the Vampire. These are being brought to us by Swiss Milsim after they release it on P3D. So they're completing work on P3D first, but they have indicated that they are bringing it to Microsoft Flight Sim. So you can see from some of these screenshots already that their work is very much underway, and we hope to see it later this year. So definitely two aircraft to watch. Details a little light at the moment, but interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, like, I mean, I was happy enough with I think it's the Moran. I think that's what they built already. They've released that in Microsoft Flight Sim. It's a very interesting airplane. And funny enough, it's kind of tied loosely along the whole production of the Fuga Magister. I mean, it was some of the designers were involved competing to release an aircraft at the time. But I will say this, there was a couple of 2D panels in the Moraine that I wasn't kind of mad about. There was nice systems or whatever, but a lot of that airplane is 2D models. I mean, it's a port from FSX, or certainly an earlier version of P3D, and the developer he's commanding a certain price point for that aircraft that you can get, a whole lot of airplane based on, be it the Twin Otter or, the Kodiak, for the same price. So I think when it comes to quality, I will be watching this one very, very closely. I think the Moraine needs a huge update. If I'm saying it wrong, if it's Moran and you're just saying it's Moran Murph, it's not Moraine. Do you know the one I'm talking about, though?
You are a Moran Murph.
You're Moran. But yeah, no, I'm going to be watching this very, very closely, because these are they're fantastic and they're fascinating aircraft, and they deserve to get the absolute best of care when they're being reproduced, especially in a next-gen simulator like Microsoft Flight Sim. So yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do. So moving on, speaking of this thing, the Fuga Magister. So our friends over at Azure Poly, well, we have some news. We have a price point of $27.50 and a release date slated for the 27th of January. Wait till you hear this. They're planning to release this on the PC and simultaneously on the Xbox console the same day, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So I did a review video on this. You might like me, handy fat. Anyway, on the review video, I'd one or two kind of, the textures, there was one or two kind of mismaps, and also when it came to the livery. But the developers have been so open, and they're just really nice guys to chat to. They were like, yeah, no problem, we'll sort it out. And they do have other plans for this aircraft later on. They want to add additional capabilities and functions to it. But I've flown this, I've been part of the beta for a while. I really do enjoy it, and I think a lot of people are going to like this airplane as well. It flies superbly, it sounds great, and it's an awesome looking plane as well, in particular in the Irish Air Corps livery. So this is on the way, coming soon to the marketplace near you. So moving on, it's kind of scenery, but you know, it's not, but it is. SeaFront Simulations. I love these guys because they've added boats and ships to the sim, and I've been using this quite extensively because, you know, they were adding kind of different regions in where they'd have a lot of marine traffic, but well, they've huge news now because it looks like they're going to push this out on the Xbox. What's the story here, Gibbo?
You're right, Murph. It's actually out as of today. It's
Nice.
out now also for the Xbox, which is great news. Yes. So just a bit to tell you here in this one. This is Vessels Enhanced AI and Vessels Global Shipping. They're two products that were released today on Microsoft Flight Simulator for the PC and Xbox. But they do two things separately. So Vessels Enhanced AI improves the default ships and boats with higher quality versions and a wider variety of models. From yachts to catamarans, fishing boats, cargo ships, and even cruise ships. So that's basically an easy way to upgrade existing boats that operate in the sim. Vessels Global Shipping, on the other hand, is completely different. This adds around 50,000 routes and tens of thousands of high-quality boats all over the world, effectively filling the waters with realistic shipping, traffic, and leisure boats. So yeah, it'll definitely make flying over water a lot more interesting. Now, these are available on Orbix Direct, and they did originally need one to have the other, but that's no longer the case. So they are totally separate, and Enhanced AI costs €10, and Global Shipping will set you back around €16. So not the cheapest. Now, it is worth mentioning as well, just in passing, Murph, that if you're looking for a similar way to add some life to the seas in Microsoft Flight Simulator, there is a freeware mod available on flightsim.to, which is called Global AI Ship Traffic. Global AI Ship Traffic. That might be worth checking out too.
Yeah, like, I think it's interesting. I mean, these models that SeaFront Simulations have done, they're highly polished, and they're very much optimized as well. I think it's, I don't know, like, didn't we hear Microsoft were going to have all of these things as part of the base sim as standard? Like, we do have sea traffic sliders to turn on and off different boats, and I thought the idea behind it was, well, they were going to have access to this sort of data and, you know, push it into the sim. So it is interesting to see that, you know, the third party's got to link together and come out with the products. But again, look, I do like this one. I think it adds a whole load of fun to your flight sim experience, regardless of the aircraft that you're flying. I mean, there's a lot of fun in the chopper trying to simulate the evacuation off a ship, but also from the airliners when you're cruising over somewhere and you can see all the traffic going into some of the biggest cities. It adds an awful lot, and the night lighting is incredible off them as well. So yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of that product. So moving on. Speaking about making things look nicer, and if you heard something fall earlier on, yeah, I dropped something, but it's grand. We'll move on. This here is from our good friends over at SoFly. I'm a huge fan of these. Why? Well, they make things easier for us, and they make it look better while they're doing it. So, Gibbo, they've come along and they've added stuff to their Weather Preset Pro. What have they done?
Yeah, Murph, we love Weather Preset Pro. I mean, that big and bold almost has to be the best. So yes, there's 10 new presets. They're calling it the Epic Update, and it is, 10 presets that make it look epic. It's available as a free update, and for those of you that don't use this already, this is Weather Preset Pro that's available on SimMarket, Orbix, SoFly, basically everywhere where you pop it into your community folder, and it offers you weather presets that, as I say, we use all the time. What's more, this is also coming to the Xbox as well. So those of you that have wanted to get Weather Preset Pro won't have to wait long for it to get it on the Xbox via the in-sim marketplace. So yeah, not too much more to say about this, except that these screenshots do actually look pretty cool. Free update, definitely worth the download. It'll bring it up to version 1.3.
Nice. So moving on, we have news from our friends over at Milviz. Well, effectively, they've released a video. They're having a chat. It's pretty much a state of the nation address kind of thing. It's their outlook on where they're at with their own development. And well, it's a 50 odd minute interview, I suppose. We'll leave it linked in the show notes below. Be sure to check it out. It's well worth the watch. But we sent Gibbo over to study it with a fine-tooth comb and to come back with some factoids. So, Gibbo, what did you kind of make of everything after watching it?
Yeah, well, the first fact actually was...
You're brilliant.
Thanks, Murph. So yeah, it was a very interesting 50-minute video, as you say, Murph, that I'll try and condense into about 2 minutes for you. I found it fascinating. The 50 minutes did fly, and they spoke about quite a variety of things actually that are important to them and their thinking on those things. Just to call a couple points out to you, they spoke about the Porter and where its development is at. Stage 2, which is the analog with floats, will be in Q2 2022. And they were waiting on a Sobo to fix the water dynamics that they hoped will have fixed very soon. Within the Porter, there'll also be the Thunder tires, regular wheels, and amphibian variants, and all the GPS units that you'd expect will be thrown in there too.
Nice. They
spoke about the Beaver, the DHC2 and Turbo variant. They spoke about the Turbo Otter, and they spoke about the Sky Raider as well. They didn't give exact quarters for when they'll be coming, but they are indeed working on it and expected this year. They went on to talk about the S471 and the C310, which will be done for Q2. So that'll be around the summer timeframe. The Huey, they also covered Q3/Q4, and that'll depend upon how fast they can get the flight profile integrated. He also spoke about the ATR as well. They seem to be having some problems behind the scenes to do with the ATR, to do with contractual stuff, licensing issues perhaps as well. And what Colin spoke about here from Milviz was that there's so much going on with the ATR that one of the challenges that they have is how to make sure that they maintain adequate performance, because there's just so much going on all at once. So they really want to make sure that frame rates and the model that they're redoing at the moment will adapt to give great performance. And then they also discussed ports as well, some aircraft that they're thinking of porting over, including the King Air 350i and others as well, to Microsoft Flight Simulator perhaps too. So yeah, it was an interesting update. Final thing that they spoke about that I found interesting was their perspective on development in terms of the styling. They spoke about how dirt matters to them, how oil matters, and gas, and having footprints and handprints to make it just a more realistic aircraft. To do that, you need to introduce texture maps, and if you do that, you need to be careful about performance. And to do that, to be careful about performance, you need to drop the resolution. So that's how their perspective on things in comparison to other developers who might have a shiny and new, brand new looking aircraft, in comparison to their belief that actually it should be, used and look a little worn. And I can't say I disagree. What were your takeaways, was Murph? I think you saw it too, huh?
Yeah. So look, after watching it, Milviz come across as a very exciting development team who want to do some fantastic things within Microsoft Flight Sim, but I think they're feeling probably a little bit frustrated because they feel very restricted in what they can and what they cannot do in Microsoft Flight Sim at the moment. Now, when it comes to a lot of those texture mappings, that might help when DX12 is fully implemented, so fingers crossed there. I thought it was funny, they made a reference to Carenado, because Carenado make beautiful looking airplanes, but they're kind of light on some of the other details. And even, the guys kind of suggested, hey, wouldn't it be great if we were to work with Carenado? But they never kind of took them up on that offer, and what are you going to do? I think the ATR, they're definitely going to struggle. When you have someone like PMDG who know their product inside and out, and they're struggling a little bit, it kind of points the finger back towards Microsoft and Asobo. What are these limiting factors, and why is everything delayed? Is it purely from the Xbox? And are we getting to the stage now whereby should you have a PC version and an Xbox version rather than just one version? And I think ultimately that's what's holding a lot of third-party developers back. Yes, the appeal is there, the market is absolutely huge if you can go onto the consoles, but there's going to be limitations. You're going to be stuck in what you can do. I know Milviz, military visualization, isn't it? Milviz Sim. They want to have weapons on their aircraft. They don't mind if they operate or not, or if they're functional or not, but they want to be able to show that there's weapons on their aircraft. That's not a capability when it comes to using the in-sim marketplace. And we understand why there's ratings, there's age ratings, all of these things, but for a developer like Milviz, it's got to be a challenge. So look, it's interesting, it's exciting, and you know, I really hope they can kind of figure out the best way how to proceed. I don't think I'm in favor of porting aircraft over. You know, no one wants to see ported aircraft. They want to see new aircraft. They want to see the next step, the next generation of simulated aircraft and add-ons in this new simulator. But yeah, look, I thought it was brilliant and very insightful and interesting and you know, entertaining as well. So yeah, hopefully lots of great things to come from Milviz. So that's it for this week. God almighty, there was a lot of news there, wasn't it? My head is sore, and I can't believe you have that sound clip. But sure, listen, I'll have one for next week. So, guys, thank you so very, very much for tuning in. Do be sure to comment in our comment section below. And, well, you'll catch us over on the live streams on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2000 Zulu time on twitch.tv/2ToneMurphy. So until then, take care.
Take care.